Hello everyone. I'm not going to be making the video that I'd initially planned on making today because I'm sure, as most of you have heard, they assassinated Charlie Kirk. There's specifically one guy apparently assassinated Charlie Kirk, and I guess as of this recording, they have the suspect in custody. Well, I actually wasn't going to make a video on Charlie Kirk's death at all, even though killing Charlie has, in some case, since he was a speaker and a debater and primarily a First Amendment guy that spoke his mind at colleges and universities and other places. Freedom of speech was his right gifted to him, like all of us, under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. But having people killed for exercising their constitutionally protected rights has kind of put us in a bit of a constitutional crisis at many levels. We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. And to all you kids and even adults out there that I know were taught that the United States of America is a democracy, it's not. It's not a democracy. It's never been a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And after Ben Franklin left the Continental Congress, he says, "We've gave you a constitutional republic. Can you keep it?" And it was shortly after that that he said, "Democracy is mob rule." We wanted a system with checks and balances. In other words, our three parts of government: the presidency, the Congress, and the courts. Well, when people start killing people over constitutional rights, that puts us in a bit of a constitutional crisis, no matter what anybody says. If your rights cannot be guaranteed, that makes that Constitution kind of worthless. Because you can't do what the framers of the Constitution guaranteed that you could do. And I will say, having speakers on a college campus under a tent on the grass seems actually to be a bit ridiculous. Maybe more than a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. They should be able to accommodate him in a gym or something like that. Now, I understand that this last one up there in Utah, there was more than 3,000 spectators. Now, I have no idea what their basketball gym or football stadium might have been able to hold. I don't know anything about that particular university. I've never been there, so I can't speak to that. But having 6 police officers to monitor the actions of more than 3,000 people seems to be more than a bit ridiculous. they did not have any intent on security. They might wanted to police the people if they started fighting or throwing beer bottles or getting excessively drunk or something. 6 law enforcement officers may have handled that okay. They weren't going to handle anything else okay, that's for sure. But now, every speaker at every outside event, if have to be a bit concerned, because there's even one person, one loony lefty out there, which is basically what we're talking about, doesn't like what you got to say, they can just kill you. The fact that he got caught and is going to go to trial on what I'm talking about has nothing to do with it. The guy going to pay for his crime? Yeah, most likely he will. Utah has a death penalty. But that didn't stop the first part of it. Because we got these whacked out loons out there that thinks it's all right just to kill whoever they don't like. And the lefty loon leadership condones it, as well as a bunch of our media. There were several people on 2 of the major broadcast networks that I happen to hear were talking like that Charlie Kirk, the religious man he was, got what he deserved because he was utilizing his First Amendment rights. Charlie Kirk did not ever engage in hate speech. I watched a lot of his speeches. I watched him debate a bunch of people. He whacked them all down, and his speeches made perfect sense. Unlike Kamala Harris in this last presidential campaign, he didn't use any word salad. He said exactly what he meant. Easily understand. You can agree, you can disagree, but he didn't advocate for hurting anybody or taking action of any kind against anybody. All he did was speak the truth and tell the truth according to his religion, which he has every right to do. And every one of the speeches I heard made perfect sense, and he did a really good job. He was a great American. He did what Americans were supposed to do. And that is engage the political debate to whatever degree they wanted to do it, but not do hate crimes or anything of that nature or speak ill of people. He just told the truth. A lot of people in this country can't handle the truth. A lot of these people in this country wouldn't know the truth if it slapped them in the face. Which a lot of times I think when Charlie was speaking and debating, that he hit people right where it counted the most. Right, because they couldn't get out of their bad policies or their bad speaking or their hatred. Because a lot of these people he debated were straight up bigots. They weren't of the kind most people think, and they came in all colors. He called them out on it. We should all call people out on racism. That's not hate speech. That's holding people accountable for what they do and say. And so today, I probably still wouldn't have made this video and talked about this. However, our socialist cousins to the north in Canada, and some in the UK, and some in Germany, and at least one in France that I heard, these socialists thought that because Charlie wasn't a left-wing socialist, that it was all right to call him names, number one, like far right, far conservative, ultra conservative. No, Charlie was not any of that. Charlie was what was considered in 1970 to be a centrist. It's just these left-wing loons, not only in our country but around the world, moved far left. And so now Charlie looks far right. In reality, Charlie was a religious conservative centrist, and the rest of them moved to being a left-wing fanatic. But what this really shows most of all is that these so-called friendly socialist countries are a lot more than just friendly socialist countries. They are, in fact, all over their media, and some people are politicians that I heard, are left-wing loons that killing somebody that is what they consider to be far right is fine. They're okay that Charlie got killed for his views. And no, in case you didn't know it, free speech as we know it in the United States is not guaranteed in those socialist countries. Look at what's happened to England for an extreme case. They took away free speech as we know it, at least about 80%, maybe 90%. So the next time you're listening to these loons, just remember, they're that. They're left-wing loans. All right, I'll make another recording tomorrow if I can stay on schedule and nothing else happens to interrupt me. Bye-bye.